Hi there, welcome back to the Eczema YouTube channel. I'm happy that you're here watching me once again. So I mentioned in the previous video that throughout the month of November, I'm going to be talking about things which triggers our eczema. And today's video is all going to be about our food, our diet and nutrition. So, does food irritate your eczema? Do you have any allergies, any tolerances? Or maybe you're still testing the waters and you're still trying to figure things out for yourself. So if that's you, you're still trying to figure things out for yourself, or even still if you know what works good for you in terms of diet and nutrition, this video is for you. Just to introduce myself, because I did not do that at the beginning, my name is Trudy. I'm the founder of Deeper Than Eczema. So as well as a YouTube channel, I also have a blog, which you can check out on the link below. And I also have two social media channels, Facebook and Instagram, where you can see posts and lots of other bits of information about myself. Okay, so moving swiftly, I'm going to be talking about various things which can potentially trigger our skin when it comes to what we eat. So the first one, a bit of a popular one, is dairy. So dairy obviously include things such as milk, cheese, butter, cream, etc. So when it comes to dairy, it tends to happen a lot in children, I tend to find, when it comes to dairy, and it links to being lactose intolerant or having a dairy or a milk allergy as to why it can trigger our skin. And then the next food I'm going to be talking about, the next allergen, is eggs. So eggs is also another food item which can trigger eczema in some people. According to research, some are just allergic to the egg white and others egg yolk, and with some people it's both. Another big one is wheat and also gluten. So just to say, wheat and gluten is actually different. So gluten includes things like barley, etc. as well. But wheat is just a small section of gluten. So for some people, they may find that they're allergic to wheat, but they're not allergic to the other gluten type products, which is barley and rye. So that could also be another factor. And products which contain those foods, the typical ones is bread, it could be cakes, pasta, and nowadays we can all get alternatives in the shops. I'm not sure about other nations, but here in the UK, there's free from products. You can get wheat-free products, gluten-free products, dairy-free products. There's a bit of all sorts. Sadly, it is slightly, actually not slightly actually, I actually looked and researched myself and I've seen it in the shops. It is actually a lot more expensive than the standard products. So for some people, they may be able to afford it and to get the free-from range, or it may be a case as to cut out those things completely. Another big one is nuts. So that includes things like walnuts, tree nuts, hazelnuts can also be a factor. So they come in a group called tree nuts. And then peanuts is another major factor when it comes to allergies. Quite a few people are allergic to peanuts, but that's not a tree nut, that's a different type of nut. So you may find that you can eat the other nuts, but you can't eat peanuts, or vice versa. You may be okay with peanuts, not the other nuts. So nuts is also another big factor. Another factor when it comes to allergens is also fish and shellfish. So fish is things like salmon and tuna, etc. Shellfish, that includes prawns, it can be shrimp, I think calamari might fall under that category as well. So those are obviously other factors which is an allergen and may affect people with their skin. And in some cases, it may actually be quite serious and lead to fatal consequences. So they may actually need to have an EpiPen with them in case they do come into contact with an allergen. So other factors as well, which is not actually allergens, but just other general food factors which may affect our skin. So according to research, citrus fruit is another one. So that could be oranges, lemons and limes. I'm not sure how totally true it is. Another one is actually apples. I remember years ago going to my GP and being told to actually not eat apples because apples can irritate the skin. I personally don't find that apples do irritate my skin. I eat apples quite often actually because obviously I'm trying to get in my 5 a day as good as I can. But I've not personally had any reaction to apples, so I'll continue to eat them. Another factor, not another factor, sorry, another food item which can also trigger eczema is tomatoes. I have actually been informed this by nutritionists, GPs, etc. And I've actually also looked at online research which actually shows that tomatoes can be another factor. And the reason being is that tomatoes falls under the histamine category. So some of us who have eczema take antihistamines to calm down our skin as well as our allergies and hay fever symptoms. But tomatoes acts as the opposite, as a histamine. So because that's in our body, that can also irritate and can also potentially affect the skin as well. I've personally not cut out tomatoes yet, but it's something which I may do just to do a little experiment, just to be curious. And then another food item which can potentially affect the skin is acidic type of food, and also foods which contain sugar. So sugar is actually a big one. This is refined sugar I'm talking about, by the way, which we find in the sweets, the chocolates, cake, biscuits, basically all the things, you know, that we like and which is nice to eat. So we have that good, yay, sweet feeling in our mouths, and then unfortunately too much of it does affect our bodies, and yeah, it does lead to, you know, adding on the extra few pounds, and then we get a bit upset when our clothes don't fit. But that's obviously one of those things when it comes to eating sugar. So not only does it cause things inside our body such as weight gain, tooth decay, in the long run, type 2 diabetes, it actually is a major eczema trigger. So I did an experiment, I think it was a couple of years ago, where I cut out sugar for about a month just to experiment. And the first week literally drove me a bit mad, actually. I literally felt it during that first week. I was a bit moody. So I think I did see a slight difference in my skin throughout that month. And I lost 4 pounds in weight. So that was also a good thing. So moving swiftly before I start talking about too much about sugar and sweet things, another factor which can irritate eczema is caffeine. Personally, I'm not sure if caffeine does irritate my skin. I mean, I have 1 coffee a day and that's about it. So I think probably in large quantities and large amounts, it can affect us depending on our bodies. And finally, the last one is alcohol. So alcohol is actually quite a big trigger, actually, because alcohol dehydrates our bodies. And when the body's dehydrated, obviously, it will also dehydrate our skin. So I do find that when I'm on a night out and, yeah, I might have had too much to drink, I might have had too much basically, I do find that not only does it affect my sleep, but I do feel quite dehydrated in the body, and I find that sometimes the skin just gets a bit irritable. So I'll give a typical example. So years ago, well, not actually years ago, a bit more recently actually, probably in the last 2 years, I liked drinking rosé wine. And with rosé, I found that high quantities of rosé actually did make my skin itch quite a lot, and it was quite irritable, especially if I had it in large amounts. So, and I think part of that is there may be sulfates or a histamine. I may be wrong about this. A sulfate or histamine in rosé wine, which affects our skin, which is why I think that irritated me. So I did an experiment and I cut out rosé. And another reason as well why I cut out rosé is because some rosés has high quantities of sugar. So I've done an experiment, well, not an experiment, this is actually still continuous. And my favourite drink at the moment, for those of you who know me really well, is a pink gin. So I've recently, if I do have alcohol, I have a pink gin and tonic. And I find that, yes, it does still dehydrate me if I have it in large amounts, because that's what alcohol does. But I don't find my skin as irritated and as triggered if I drink gin compared to if I have a rosé. So that's something I've worked out a bit myself. So that's the end of me talking about diet, nutrition, and what can affect us. And I just wanted to put in a little disclaimer just to say as well that this is mainly from my personal experience of what I've researched. So I've obviously done and tweaked certain things in my diet depending on what works for me. So what may work for me may not work for you. So I recommend that you do your own research, that you trial and error yourself to find out what triggers you and what doesn't trigger you, and also to seek help and advice from a medical professional, whether that will be a GP, whether that will be a dietitian or a nutritionist, to seek that advice. And also, if you can, try and do tests as well to work out what's good for you and what isn't. So you can have blood tests done, even sending in, I think some companies, actually I did do this before years ago actually, where I sent in a few hair strands to companies and they'd work out basically what you're allergic to and what you should avoid. So even testing samples of your hair can also help with working out what your eczema triggers are. Okay, so I'm going to stop and I'm going to leave things there. Thank you very much for watching my video, all to do with diet and nutrition. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.